May primary 2011 for the mayor race, City of Fort Wayne, is coming up. Three candidates on the Republican side, and today we interview Eric Doden, who is, as I mentioned, the candidate for mayor of the City of Fort Wayne. Let's ask the first question. What makes you the best qualified candidate to become mayor?
Well, I think probably the thing that I bring to the table is business experience, and having had the experience of running both a small business and large organizations, and also being involved in private equity gives me kind of a unique perspective on the business world as well as on how to run large organizations.
It is a large organization, isn't it? What, something like 1,400 employees. Keep going a little bit more, because other candidates have an experience with government, more so than you do. Expand on how those characteristics would help you better run the City of Fort Wayne.
Well, you know, most of the experience in government from the other candidates have been legislative. And there's a big difference between a legislative skill set and an executive skill set. In the executive skill set, one of the key things that you have to do is be able to inspire and motivate people. Because what you are doing is being the CEO and a leader of a vast array of people, as you mentioned, roughly 12 to 1,300. And if you're going to improve or grow in any organization, then you have to motivate a wide variety of people from multiple backgrounds and different backgrounds to be on the same page and to try to achieve the same goals. And there's just an experience that comes with having done that. Even I would tell you, in business there's politics. There's bureaucracy. There are people who have different perspectives and have different views of how things should be done. And those skill sets that you learn in that environment can be translated in terms of how you are involved in the politics of a city.
The joke is always, politics is like herding cats. You know, the ability to group or to bring a group of people together and motivate them toward one set of goals. What other personality traits, bits of your background, your upbringing would prepare you to run a city this size? And what is the budget? Someplace around $140 million? Big budget.
Yeah, big budget.
Big corporation.
Big corporation. You know, we had in business, you know, we had a business that had over 500 million in sales, and would have had a similar or even greater expense budget. And you know, in business, of course, if you do not get your cost in line, you're out of business. You know, a little different in government, because you have an ongoing source of revenue that, unless you have a down economy like we do now, where you have some hits on the revenue side, you have a fairly consistent revenue base. But you know, there's a lot of similarities in terms of managing a budget, and in fact, some of the budgets that I've managed have probably been a little larger than the budget in Fort Wayne. And it's a real challenge to make sure that you manage that efficiently and effectively, and make sure that you cut the right cost in terms of the expenses that aren't helpful but more wasteful, and don't cut expenses that are actually cutting them into what we used to call in business, when you start cutting into muscle and bone, then you start to lose your business. Even though it might look at first like it was a good idea to cut that expense, it ends up hurting you in the long run.
Well, that's something that the city controller brings up fairly regularly, especially during the budget session, that the employee base has been whittled nearly down to the bone, her perspective, and that city council and the citizens of Fort Wayne are calling upon the employees to do much more with the same or less in some cases. City of Fort Wayne having grown by considerable land mass because of annexation. So is perhaps the City of Fort Wayne already at the bone?
Well, and that's why I think my plan calls for not just a focus on the expense side, but also a focus on growing revenues. And I think if I have another advantage, is the fact that I've been involved in marketing and sales and have sold things my whole career. And I will tell you this, that when I believe in something, I can sell something, and I've been able to develop quite a background and expertise in either both managing a sales force and also selling myself. And I think one of the key roles of the mayor of the city is to be the chief marketing officer and attract businesses and attract a group of businesses that will increase the tax base. So if 100% of your focus is on just cutting expenses, we have an old saying in business that you can't cut your way to success, you just cut your way to break even. You have to have a plan for growth. And I think that's one of the advantages I bring to the table, is the ability to understand the language of business and the ability to go out and market Fort Wayne to these businesses as to why this is one of the best places in America that they can move or start their business.
Marketing takes a while, though. In most cases, it's maybe years before fruition is seen on a marketing attack to bring either new businesses to Fort Wayne or to increase the size of the ones already here. It looks as though the city is going to run into a significant drop in revenues this coming year and perhaps the year following, because the lag in the way that taxes are collected and then distributed. Will your emphasis be on the marketing side or on the protecting revenues side, or of bringing in new revenues, or cutting further out of the governmental structure? I mean, can you have an emphasis on all?
Yeah, I think you're going to have an emphasis on all. This is just one of those times in our history of our country where you're going to have to be good at everything. You're going to have to be good at growing the revenue base and attracting and retaining talent and businesses. You're going to have to be good at creating and generating more efficiency and really inspiring and motivating the employees to find waste wherever we can. And then I think you're going to have to be good at managing your asset base. Making sure that do we really need this asset, or is it better for us to convert this asset to cash? And then ultimately you're going to have to be good at managing your debt structure.
When you say asset to cash, is that leasing part of government, part of the holdings of the city of Fort Wayne to private industry so that they can then manage it as opposed to city employees managing it?
Well, we've seen examples of this, like Chicago recently just sold their parking meters. They determined, rightly or wrongly, and I'm not going to comment on whether it was a good deal or bad, but they determined that they were better off having cash liquidity than owning that asset over the long term. We also saw an example of that in Indiana with the toll road, and some people may criticize that or not, but good asset managers are constantly looking at what do we have as an asset, and would be better having that asset or go ahead and selling an asset and converting it to cash. The analogy I've used is if you own a $200,000 home and somebody came and offered you $1 million for the home, most people are going to give up their home for the $1 million.
We also have the example in Indiana of the governor privatizing the welfare system, or at least trying to, with IBM, and it's been somewhat of a disaster. How do you protect the people of the state at the same time, or the people of the city at the same time, by making sure that the privatization of something like parking meters doesn't result in $50 parking fines and $2 an hour to park?
Well, anytime that you try to be innovative and entrepreneurial and creative, you are going to have successes and you're going to have failures. And of course, we work hard every day, either whether it's in business or in government, to make sure that we minimize the failures and maximize the successes. At the same time, I think if you don't become innovative and creative in this environment, the risk to that is phenomenal because of the environment we find ourselves in. We're going to have to find creative ways to do things.